channel. My name is Shafiq. So today I'll be taking you through a number of very important terms that you need to know. If you have just gotten employment in the Gulf countries, for example in Qatar, in UAE, in Saudi Arabia, there are a number of terms that you might have come across, but you're wondering what they actually mean. For example, probation period, basic salary, notice period, overtime. You have probably seen these terms, or you might have heard of them and you didn't know what. Today I'm here to explain and in detail what all these terms mean. If you are new to my channel, kindly subscribe. You will learn a lot of information, and I urge you all to subscribe so that you do not miss out any single video that I do. Today, this video will be more important to people who are new to the Gulf or those who are seeking employment in the Gulf. For example, you're thinking of moving to Dubai, Abu Dhabi. There are a number of times that you will come across either on your offer letter, on your employment contract, and you would like to know what they are. So today I'm here to explain these. If that is what you want to hear and that is what you want to know, kindly stick around and let's get started. Hello, my name is Shafiq. So today I'll be taking you through a number of very important terms that you might have come across and you were wondering what they actually. So it is very important for people to acquaint themselves, to familiarize yourself with the labor laws of the country where you're going to work from. Many people mistake the United Arab Emirates with the GCC. The GCC is the Gulf Cooperation Council. It is a union of states, for example, Qatar, BAHRAIN, Kuwait, Oman, UAE and Saudi Arabia, the countries that are bordering the Persian Gulf. These countries form a union which is called the GCC. It was established in 1981. These countries have agreement on certain policies like free movement of people and goods within the member states. On the other hand, we have what is called the United Arab Emirates. The United Arab Emirates consists of 6 emirates, that is Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, Al Ras Al Khaimah, Fujairah. Together, these form the United Arab Emirates. Their president is called Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and the UAE capital is Abu Dhabi. Many people tend to mistake the GCC with the UAE, so it is very important to note those. If you are seeking employment in one of the countries, you need to familiarize yourself with the labor laws. That brings us to the first term that we need to explain. What is a labor law? What are labor laws? Labor laws are rules stipulated by government that are put in place by government to restrict and regulate the relationship between workers and their employers. Workers and employers come into an agreement and sign on terms and conditions to work on that. These terms and conditions are stipulated by government. So labor laws are laws put in place by government to regulate the agreement between workers and their employers. You need to acquaint yourself with these laws. The next term is what is called probation period. Probation period, many of you have heard of it. Probably you have seen it on your offer letter, but you're wondering what it means. Probation period comes from probability of contract from both the employer and the employee. This is the period of time which is usually 3 months, 6 months, depending on the country where you're going to work from. It is a period of time put in place by government for that they will employ you as a permanent employee of the company. This is a period of time that the employer will decide on whether to hire you as a permanent employee. And also, the employee can choose to leave the company or not to take up the opportunity of work. So this period of time is put in place for both parties to decide they will continue with the employment or not. Can you resign during your probation period? That depends on the country where you're working from and the labor law governing the employment in that country. Can your employer fire you during probation period? Yes, they can do after providing a notice period. That brings us to the next term, which is called the notice period. Notice period is a period of time that is put in place by government or by the Ministry of Labour for that. So the probation period is that period of time that is set by the government for the employer to choose if they will employ you as a permanent worker, and for the employee to also choose if they will continue with the contract. People wonder why probation period is put in place. Probably the worker might have provided fake documents, or you might have been deceived about the kind of work you do, so that period is put in place for you to choose if you will continue with the contract or not. This brings us to the next term, which is called the basic salaries. Basic salary, many of you have heard of it, or you might have found it on your offer letter and were wondering what it means. Basic salary is simply base salary of an employee. Base salary, it is the amount of money paid before any reduction or increases due to overtime and allowances. For example, if you work a day, you are entitled to get your basic salary together with your overtime, if you have worked overtime for that period, and all other allowances that you signed for. But if you do not work a day, you are only entitled to your basic salary and you're not entitled to any other allowance. Simply, basic salary is that amount of money that you signed in your contract. If the base salary or the basic salary is put in together with other allowances, it makes what is called the gross salary or the gross wage. The next term is called the overtime. Overtime is additional hours to those that you signed in your contract. If your contract says, or if your offer letter says you're supposed to work for 8 hours a day, if you work for any additional hours, they are supposed to be paid differently, and this is what we call overtime. If you work in the UAE, overtime is computed. I'll leave a link in the description on how you can compute your overtime. The next term is called the notice period. Notice period, many of you have heard of it, but you were wondering what it means. Notice period, it is a period of time that is put in place by government from the time an employee is terminated and the last day of work. It is also a period of time between the time you have resigned as a worker and the last day you're stopping to work. Usually, it is from 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 1 month, depending on the company where you're working from and the country where you are working from. It is very good for you to observe the notice period, and any violation to notice period is punishable by law. What happens if you do not provide notice period to your employer? You may face a labor ban by the ministry or by the government of the country where you are working from. Notice period is important for the employer to find a new employee that will replace you, and it is also good for the employee to find new work if the employee has just been terminated. So that is the notice period. You must observe it if you're thinking of resigning from the company where you are working. The next term that you might have heard of is called the offer letter. Offer letter or the job offer. Job offer is only for people in the UAE, and it is the ministry offer letter. I'll put a link in the description of how you can check for it. Offer letter and job offer are different if you're working in the UAE. Offer letter, it is a summary just to show that you have been given a job. It includes the company you work for, the salary, the terms and conditions, the air ticket, and all those terms and conditions. And the next item or the next term you need to know is the employment contract. The employment contract, it is a legal binding document, or it is an agreement you come into with your employer. It stipulates upon, including who your employee will be, how much time you'll be working, your basic salary, overtime, all those allowances clearly stipulated and outlined. That is the employment contract. Before you start work, you must make sure you sign an employment contract if you are legally working for that. Brings us to the next term, which is called abscond. Many of you have heard of abscond, but probably were wondering what it means. In the UAE, if an employee goes missing at the work for 7 days, the employer has a right, according to government, to file what is called an absconding report or unexpected work abandonment. If you go missing at your workplace for 7 days without a valid reason, without communication from your employer, they will file an absconding report against you. An absconding report, it is not good for you to abscond, and I always advise you to seek legal advice if you are thinking of running away from your work, especially the domestic workers and also other work, which is called a visa. What is a visa? Many people see a visa and have been issued a visa, but they don't know, or they are probably wondering what a visa means. A visa is a document issued by one country to a foreigner for a limited period of time. There will be single entry, multiple entry, long stay, short stay, depending on where you are going. A visa is different from a passport. A passport, it is a book that allows you to enter another country. It is issued by your country. But a visa is provided by a foreign country where you are going to work or where you're going to tour or all that. WPS is the next term. WPS is Wage Protection System. It is a system developed by the UAE government to ensure its wage protection system. All companies that subscribe to the Ministry of Labour, the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratisation are by law obliged to follow the WPS. WPS is where your company pays your wages or your salaries in approved authorities without giving you cash. This is put in place by the government of UAE to ensure payment of salaries to the workers on time. This brings us to the next term, which is called the work permit. Work permit is a permission to take a job within a foreign country. It is issued by the country where you're going to work from. How does a work permit differ from a labor card? If you are working in the UAE, you have a labor card. A labor card, it is a document issued by the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratisation that signify you or that identifies you as a labor or as a worker in the UAE. Labor ban, it is a restriction imposed by a country. It is imposed by a country if an employee breaks the laws or the laws of that country. Labor ban, it will restrict you from seeking employment in another company. Make sure that you follow the UAE labor laws so that you do not face a labor ban. An immigration ban, it is a restriction imposed by a country by breaking laws of the land. If you break laws of that land, then they will issue an immigration ban on you, and you cannot enter that country, and you will not be able to get a visa for that country. So I urge you all to always follow the laws of the country so that you do not get an immigration ban. In the description, I will leave a link on how you can check if you have a labor ban or not. This brings us to the end of our video. I will make another video of the many terms that you will need to know. You've probably been wondering what they are and what they mean. There are some very important items that you need to know as an employee in the UAE. For example, the Ministry of Human Resources and Emiratisation. You will need to know the website, the social media handles. I will leave links to all that in the description. It is good you follow that and know. The labor code. If you get misunderstandings with your employee, how can you seek for justice, or how can you seek to resolve issues with your employer is in the labor code. I will also leave a link in the description of how you can do all this. It is also important to know that in the United Arab Emirates, all the Emirates have the same labor law. All Emirates have the same labor law. They only have branches of the Ministry of Labour in the different Emirates. This brings us to the end of our video for today. I kindly urge you all to subscribe to our channel so you do not miss out any video. I will make a number of videos that are aimed at educating you if you are new to the UAE or any other Gulf countries. Thank you for watching. Keep subscribed.